Hello, these are my predictions for Masters Shanghai. I'm going to start off with 11th, 12th, and for me, it's DRG and T1. These are pretty interchangeable. They could be either place for me. Full disclaimer, I haven't really watched too many T1 games, so this might be wrong, or just with a kind of grain of salt, like word of mouth type deal, is how I've kind of heard this stuff. For DRG, I have some opinions of my own, where I think that they actually could find themselves in higher placing. It's just that they're a fairly unknown quantity. With players that haven't played internationally before. So I think that they have especially with the playstyle of China in general, they have the chance to like upset teams. And I'll talk about that when I go to 9th, 10th, which is going to be now. So EDG and FPX. So these two teams, so I've put three Chinese teams here. But the thing is that usually it's hard to gauge where they're actually going to end up realistically, because they tend to have a good capacity for upsetting teams when they're playing well on the day. They have really, really high levels of mechanics. It's just that when it comes to like the base strategy and things, they tend to be quite, not quite behind. They tend to be like a decent amount behind when it comes to team play and that kind of stuff. But they tend to be really, really strong individual players. And when they turn up to the server and you're not turning up, they will beat you. So I do think that all three of these teams have the capacity to have higher placing. It's just whether it happens and whether they turn up on the day. Next is Heretics and Foot. So Heretics would originally be higher, but I know that Miniboo is not going to be at the event, and instead they're going to have Patty Tech. And for me, I think Miniboo is is like one of the better players in the world for what he does in his role. So Heretics not having him is quite a big deal. I also think as well it's going to be difficult for them to fully cover his role in kind of maybe a short amount of time. For like all the things he did. To kind of fit someone into the same playstyle he did, and if they can't do that, then they're going to have to find a different kind of way to play, which is going to be quite tough to do in one event, in a short amount of time leading up to it as well. So I do think that they're going to be 7th, 8th, but I think that they would have been 5th otherwise. And I think that Patitek, Woot, and Rienz all have like a level of ability to fill those roles. I think Woot, for instance, can play any agent. It wouldn't surprise me if he could. And same with Rienz. I think Rienz is probably really good, but he tends to stick towards his initiators, although he did used to play duelist, I'm pretty sure. Patitek, I think, does have Raze as well that he's played in tier 2. So I think they have a quite like they do have a spectrum of people that do play the roles that Miniboo would be playing. So I do think they won't struggle that much. But I do think they'll struggle to find like the same like efficiency they had with their team play, because they're just gonna have Miniboo, who is they were used to playing with Miniboo, and now they're gonna have to get used to not playing with Miniboo basically. Foot as well. I think Foot is one of those teams that will actually maybe end up getting upset by the Chinese teams. Like they feel like the most likely, because they tend to be very team orientated. They tend to not have as many star players. And for me, when you're against these Chinese teams, you need to have a standout player that can push them down. And for me, there's no star player on Foot, not really. And I think that it's going to be difficult for them to push them down individually. They're not going to have a player that they can send and spearhead against those Chinese teams. So I do think they're going to struggle when they play against them. And I don't think as well that they've got enough of a strong team play base to kind of make it up more than 7th or 8th for me. 5th and 6th is Levian and G2. So I think G2 gets slept on quite a bit, to be honest, and I think they still are. I think they are pretty good. I wouldn't have rated them higher than Team Heretics if they had Miniboo. But I do think that without Miniboo, I think G2 have like a pretty decent chance. I think, to be honest, I could see it like this too, to be honest. But I've done it like this for I don't know what reason, to be honest. But I've done it like this. I think that because this is what I genuinely think. I do think that G2 will place higher than Heretics in the current state of things, and obviously that might not be actually true when it comes down to it, but I think G2 as well is also one of those teams that don't necessarily have a star player. I think Leaf or Valen are probably the two closest ones to star player for me. So I do think they do have Icy, but I think Icy's just kind of getting into his stride, and I don't think he's really there yet. But I could definitely see him being one in the future. Maybe in this event he does step up really, really hard and he is like their star player. And as a result as well, I do think that this is one of the teams as well that can lose to these Chinese teams. Because once again, they don't have that star player that can push them down. I do think that Valen does stand a good chance of being that star player though, to push them down. Especially with being the IGL as well. He's able to call the strats and able to like push them down individually. I do think that he they might be one of the more likely teams to lose, but I think that if Valen is performing in any way, then they won't lose to the Chinese team. Then we got Leviathan. I think Leviathan are kind of been at this sort of strength for a while. I think it's hard to justify putting them above teams above, like putting them above any teams that are above them right now in this tier list. Because I think they've either been beaten by them before, or I think they just don't quite have the cohesion going on right now. I think they have the good star players and they have really good support players in Mazzino and Com. I just think that they really struggle to. I think Tex is like really saving them in so many rounds. So I think that Tex is probably going to be one of the people to look at if Leviathan do well. Like if they do well, it's probably going to be because of Tex or Aspas. To be fair, Aspas usually is really good at being explosive in the start of the rounds. Tex usually saves them in the clutches. So these two players like really important to me. And if any of those don't perform, then they're going to go downhill. But I think if they perform, then they can actually probably see some upsets versus probably Fnatic, which we've got next. So Fnatic and GenG. So for me, GenG are third and Fnatic's fourth. I am kind of skeptical about Fnatic being so high. Once again, I could see them swapped with Leviathan. To be honest, I'm a bit defensive about it because I don't think like their performances at the start of the year were terrible. And I think that they were struggling, and I now think they're finally getting back to how they were. I'm just skeptical that it's going to be enough to beat the other teams above them right now. I think GenG as well. Just going on to GenG. GenG have some of the best players like individually, and they also have a really stronger level of team play. So I do think that they're going to be a very difficult team to beat, and I could easily see them pushing into finals over what will be 100 Thieves and Paper X. I can definitely see them over 100 Thieves. I'm not sure if I can see them over Paper X. So Paper X is my winner for me in the finals. But I think 100 Thieves are probably one of the highest level teams right now. I think I want to say it's down to a lot of it with Boostio. But honestly, as well, the coaching staff in Zix, I think is really good. And I think the trio of Bang, Asuna, and Cryo have been waiting for the surrounding pieces really to really push them into like strong positions to win tournaments basically. I think those three have been really strong performers for a while. They just really struggled to have something that could push them forward. So I think that this team is pretty good right now. I think Boostio is one of the best players, like most valuable players to have. And I think that the level of 100 Thieves shows that, and the level of GG when they won shows that. Paper X. So Paper X is one of those teams that just have everyone can play the game individually to such a high level that it's difficult for them to like lose very much. Honestly, they very rarely like lose individually. They are really strong team play wise. They're just one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world currently, in my estimation. So that's why they're going to be the winners of the tournament for me. So these are my predictions. If you enjoyed the video, then please give it a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in my next one.